Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today we are talking about the full moon in Aries that hits on October 17th at 24 degrees of Aries. Now, the North Node is still in Aries, but it's at 5 degrees of Aries. So it's not considered an eclipse, but it's a very eclipsey full moon. Let's be honest. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down 3 of the biggest lessons from this full moon in Aries that I'm asking all of you to take into consideration within your own heart and ask yourself if you've been learning these lessons at the time of this full moon. First of all, a full moon is always when the sun and the moon are in opposition to each other in the skies. So the moon is at 24 degrees of Aries and the sun is at 24 degrees of Libra. This is exactly where the North Node and the South Node have been, and they are going to finish up their North Node, South Node story on January the 11th, 2025. So we're still all being encouraged to be like an Aries. So this full moon is going to be very telling how when the sun and the moon are in opposition, it's like the highlighter. It's like a bright light from the sky shining down so that you can see all the things that you can't normally see in the dark. That's what a full moon does, so that you can see it and then you can have a completion and there's an ending at a full moon. It's always that feeling of I've got to release, I've got to let it go. I can now see what has manifested, good, bad, and ugly. I can see what is manifested from that huge highlighter in the sky. That full moon is just brightening up everything I couldn't see before. So now I know I need to shut that door, perhaps majorly congratulate myself because I've come so far, or perhaps I need to take an honest look and say, this is no longer serving me. I've now completed that, and I'm going to open the door for something else. That's what a full moon always is. And ask any nurse or doctor, the hospitals are filled at full moons. So, and this is a very eclipsey full moon because the North Node is still in Aries. So again, the orb is very big. It's almost 20 degrees apart, but we've got the full moon at 24 Aries and the North Node at 5 Aries. Okay, we've also got Chiron at 21 degrees of Aries. So lots of Aries stuff, and we've been feeling it for well over a year with this North Node in Aries story. So let's talk about what it's like to have a natal moon. What's it like when the moon is in Aries? First and foremost, if you have a natal moon, if your astrology birth chart has your moon in Aries, then you need to be a hero. Mic drop. You need to be you have a strong desire to be a hero. So you might be a firefighter, you might be a cop, you might be a foster mom. Okay, you have a very strong feeling to help. And so you're always the first to say, yes, I'm going to be there. Often Aries moon people don't follow through. That's maybe not the greatest thing to say about you, but it's the truth. And that's hitting hard if you have an Aries moon. You're the first to say yes. And if it's right there in front of you, you're going to do it. But if it's something you have to follow up with, so oftentimes the follow-up isn't your strongest suit, Aries moon people. But just to set the stage, that's what an Aries moon is. They are the heroes. They have strong feelings to be a hero. The feelings are led by the moon. The moon leads feelings and emotions, and Aries are the heroes. Now, we've all been encouraged to be the hero of our own story with this North Node in Aries. But right now we're just talking about what it's like with with the moon in Aries. Okay. And I'm going to give the top 3 biggest lessons of this full moon on October the 17th. Number 1, Aries North Node has been guiding all of us for over a year up until January 11th, 2025, to be a hero. We've all been encouraged to make friends with Aries people, become like an Aries, and embrace that Aries archetype. So have the life force energy to get up and do the damn thing. Have the wherewithal and the clarity to know what the hell to do, and then go out and do the damn thing and be your own hero and to live your own hero's journey. That is what we have all been encouraged to do with this Aries North Node energy. So that is the number one lesson to ask yourself as the moon is illuminating up there in the sky. As I was saying earlier, when it's a full moon, it's like the spotlight in the heavens shining down all the things we couldn't see in the dark. So let's be honest with ourselves. At the time of this full moon on October 17th, is there still some little spots there that we could see now? We can see now with the illumination of this full moon in Aries, how we can step into that Aries archetype even further. Maybe you need to become a little bit more like an Aries and do the damn thing. Maybe you need to call that Aries friend and say sorry. Maybe you need to get up out of bed because you've been so darn lazy and you just need to go do the damn thing, because that's what an Aries would do, right? Maybe something will be illuminated along those lines, and we've been feeling it. We've been feeling it build with this North Node in Aries. We've still got some lessons there up until January 11th of 2025. We've still got some Aries North Node stuff to clean up, but this is the full moon in Aries. This will be the final full moon in Aries while the North Node is still in Aries. So this is the one, even though it's not an eclipse, it's very eclipsey. It's almost like the final illumination of what you still need to do to be the hero on your own journey. This is what you need to do independently, without relationships building you out, without you calling a million people, what should I do? What should I do? This is all about you being independent, getting up out of bed because you have the life force energy to do it, making your mind up because you are so clear-minded and you know what to do, and then doing the damn thing. So something will be illuminated around this full moon on October the 17th, and it's in Aries, and it's going to illuminate what you still need to do, the doors you need to close so that you can be your own hero, what you need to make your mind up about. You need to stop with the indecision, because that's South Node Libra stuff. You need to stop waffling. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And you need to make your damn mind up and do the damn thing. So that's the number one lesson from this full moon in Aries on October 17th. The third main lesson of this full moon at 24 degrees of Aries on October 17th is that it is squaring Pluto and Capricorn at 29 degrees, mic drop. Oh dear. So Aries and Capricorn always square each other. They always square each other. So that's an astrological term, squaring and square. When planets are squaring each other, it's like they're fighting. Now they're not in opposition like the sun and the moon are when a full moon, and that is also a difficult push-pull energy. And I was born with a full moon, so I've felt this push-pull energy my whole life. But a square, it's like kind of like you're so sick and tired of your own BS that you finally do the damn thing. So it's like, it is like this Aries North Node energy we've been feeling for so long, but the square to the Pluto in Capricorn at 29 degrees. Oh my, it's not an exact square because the moon's at 24 degrees and Pluto's at 29 degrees, but it's still squaring. It's still with an orb. And so the Pluto and Capricorn story, I actually did a video on that one. What are the lessons? What are the final lessons from Pluto and Capricorn? So go back and watch that for review. But what is that squaring? Just do it. Just do the thing. Just do it. The lesson coming from the Capricorn house placement in your life. Ask yourself, what is that final thing? Because this full moon is going to illuminate it for you. What's that final Pluto lesson? And what you need to do is you need to look at where Capricorn falls in your birth chart. So go back to my video. I go through all the 12 houses and I give you a bit of a sneak peek of what it would feel like in that house placement. So that will give you a clue as to what this final lesson from Pluto and Capricorn, this full moon's going to illuminate this. Again, it's that It's that bright light from the heavens shining down on all the darkness that you can't normally see. You can't normally see it in the dark. But at this full moon, you're going to feel it and you're going to know what that final step you need to take, and you need to do the damn thing. So that's the second lesson. Pluto and Capricorn squaring this full moon. We're all going to feel it and we're going to know what we need to do. And the third main lesson on the time of this October 17th full moon at 24 degrees of Aries is the ruler of Aries is Mars. And so you always look at the ruler whenever there's a moon, whether it's a new moon or a full moon. So Mars is actually also squaring this full moon with Mars in Cancer. Okay, so the previous podcast I did was a look at all this feminine energy that we've been guided by the cosmos. There's been coaching from the cosmos on how we can get into our feminine energy, our divine feminine, our higher feminine. And again, this is non-gender specific. We all have masculine and feminine energies within us. And we're all being called to be more intuitive and feel the feelings and get into our emotions. And this full moon on October 17th, which isn't an eclipse, but it is very eclipsey because the North Node is also in Aries. Hello, beautiful soul. I am sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to pop on really quick to talk to you a little bit about my services. I have just reopened my monthly membership to the public. We meet twice a month at the new moon and at the full moon, and each and every single one of my members gets an individual astrology chart reading and an individual tarot card pull as well. Once I look at your birth chart and I do the tarot card, you get coaching with me. I am a professional counselor. I have my social work degree, and I've been doing online coaching for over 20 years. I am so excited about this monthly membership, and I've just reopened the doors to the public, so you can check out the link on my website. As well, if you would like a 1-hour astrology reading with me, I have just reopened that service. And if you would like to do the quantum healing hypnosis technique, it's the Dolores Cannon method. I am a QHHT practitioner, and I've just opened up some new spots for that as well. Please do check out my services on my website. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to give me an email. You'll see my email address also on my website. Thank you so much for watching and for your support and all your comments and feedback. And hopefully you will continue to enjoy this video and this podcast. Is squaring Mars, the ruler of this full moon, in Cancer. Now, Mars in Cancer, I was saying in the previous podcast, there is no other placement that says passive aggressive more than Mars in Cancer. That is so passive aggressive. So for those of you that have Mars and Cancer natally, sorry, not sorry, that you've been called your whole life to clean up your passive aggressive energy, or perhaps you've called that in your whole life so that you will no longer accept passive aggressive people in your life. But yes, Mars being in Cancer is extremely passive aggressive. And so it's just saying those little nasty little comments, rude little things without actually saying it. So the third main lesson from this full moon in Aries is, with that full moon illuminating up in the sky, seeing all that passive aggressive BS we've been spewing out with the North Node in Aries. That's not being the hero of our own journey, right? When we are passive aggressive toward other people, you are not being a hero. No, in fact, you are being a passive aggressive, you know what, okay? So we're all being, with that square, it's squaring Mars. The moon is squaring Mars, and it's like that final, you are so sick and tired of being passive aggressive or accepting the passive aggressive energy into your life, and you are finally going to be the hero in your own life, and you are finally going to speak up, and you are finally going to say, I am no longer available for your passive aggressiveness toward me. So maybe that's what it is for you. That's you being the hero of your own journey, is finally speaking up, being your own hero, having the clarity to see, no, I know that that is passive aggression that is coming toward me, and I am no longer available for that. So that could definitely be a very difficult conversation that you are going to have to face at the time of this full moon if you've been experiencing a lot of passive aggression, or maybe not, and then it does show up. You get passive aggression coming at you left, right, and center at the time of this full moon. Don't be surprised, because we've got Mars in Cancer, and that is that lower dark vibe, shadow vibe, feminine energy that these moons throughout October have really been preparing us to take responsibility for. And that's what the previous podcast was about. So I would suggest you going back, because I go through how the October 2nd solar eclipse, as well as this October 17th full moon in Aries, there's been so much energy asking, there's so much cosmic energy asking us to get into our high vibe and feminine, so that we can get out of the gut feeling, the fear-based reaction, nonstop knee-jerk reactions, and getting out of our minds, overthinking, and we can drop into our hearts. We're all being called. I can see clearly now. I have the clarity to see that these moons throughout October have been beckoning us, encouraging us strongly to drop into our hearts, listen to our bodies, what's going on in the sacral chakra energy. That's what that previous podcast was all about. So this third main point, the third lesson from this full moon in Aries, is that square to Mars in Cancer, and it's asking all of us to clean up our passive aggression, or to stand up against the passive aggression. So how does that resonate for you? These top 3 lessons. Now I'm going to go through an all signs forecast, and I want to ask you to take out your own birth chart, find out where Aries falls in your natal birth chart. And this is where you're going to be seeing the illumination from that new moon, illuminating up in the skies, all those little dark particles and all those things, all those shadows. And what a time to do the shadow work. What a time to do the shadow work. I was saying that in the last podcast too, that now more than ever, our feminine energy within us is asking us to be receptive to the intuitive guidance, clear out the blocks, so that we can all drop into our heart. And we can't get there unless we feel the feels and we take radical responsibility for ourselves. And we do that through shadow work. And I teach you how to do shadow work with the cosmos, as well as with our masculine and feminine energies. I walk you through every step of the way with journal prompts with this shadow work journal. So now let's go through the house placement. Where does Aries fall in your natal birth chart? Because this is the crescendo of those 3 lessons. This is the house placement. This is the area of life that Aries falls in your birth chart. And this is the final lesson. This is, again, this is whenever it's a full moon, it's like the end of that lesson. It is the finality. It is, you need to close that door. You've come so far. That's no longer serving you. It's the end of that lesson. It's the end of a cycle. Okay. So where is the Aries in your birth chart? This is where the ending is for you. And it's all wrapped up into those 3 big lessons regarding passive aggression and your feminine energy and becoming the hero of your own journey, and the big lessons from Capricorn. Also, it's all being illuminated. Everything's coming to a crescendo in your Aries house placement. So let's go through that. Does Aries fall into your first house? You are an Aries rising. That is the best rising sign to have. It's a strong rising sign. Does Aries fall in your first house? Well, this is your identity. This is your business card. Hello, this is my identity, and this is who I identify as. So do you need a new identity? Have you been passive aggressive? Have you been showing up in this world in a way that you don't want to anymore? Have you lost a whole bunch of weight and that's the end of it and you've done it? And congratulations. And the full moon is showing how far you've come and what you've manifested. Now it's time for a new journey, not to gain weight back, but you've done it. the cycle's over? Or do you want to start a new journey of weight loss? Or is your body speaking to you? Do you need to listen to your body and start a whole new journey for your body? Because the moon does represent your body. So if Aries rules your first house, that's where the moon is falling, and perhaps you need a whole new identity at the time of this full moon. And it's all wrapped up in those 3 lessons. And the full moon is illuminating in the heavens for you to see what you normally couldn't see in the dark, and has a lot to do with how you show up in this world and how you identify yourself. Does Aries fall in your 2nd house? Well, this is all about your self-worth. It's also the money that you make into your bank account. So not from your husband, not from inheritances. It's like what you earn and you get put right into your bank account. And it's all about your worthiness. And it's showing up in your self-worth. So what's showing up? What is this full moon illuminating for you regarding your self-worth? Do you need to step up as more of a hero in your own life and be like an Aries and make up your mind and do the damn thing? Maybe you need to quit that job, or you need to do something regarding your self-worth. And you might need to start a whole new journey. And this full moon is illuminating that for you. Again, the 2nd house is all about worth, your self-worth, as well as what you are worthy of, what you are making in your bank account. And maybe there's going to be something to do with a new job or a salary increase of sorts. Does Aries fall in your 3rd house? I always say the 3rd house is the junk drawer in astrology. It's a lot of things, but the main thing that the 3rd house is, it's your communication style, how you speak, how you write. It's the great teacher. So it's like maybe you're starting a whole new program, or you're learning something new. It also has to do with your neighbors in your neighborhood and your cousins and your friends that feel like cousins and siblings. And it's also things like your transportation, like your car or your bike. And it's also things like road trips. So it's a lot of things. The 3rd house is a lot of things. But if Aries falls in your 3rd house, the full moon is illuminating something with all those things I just said. What needs to start? Maybe you need to get a new car. Like it's something like that. And, it's one of those things with those 3 lessons I was talking about earlier in the video. It's become a crescendo, and it's now illuminating in the sky, and you can't walk away from this anymore. And now you do need to buy that car, or you do need to move to a new neighborhood. It's something like that, perhaps. Or you do need to address your passive aggressive neighbor or your cousin, stuff like that. It's all coming to a crescendo at the time of this full moon in Aries. Again, the North Node's there, so we've been feeling this build, and this is the final full moon in Aries, even though it's not in orb to make it an eclipse, but it is very eclipsey, this full moon. Does Aries fall in your 4th house? Well, that's the house of family. That is the house that represents your mother, your ancestral lineage. It's also things like your house and your home and your property. So what's the full moon illuminating here for you? Do you need to have a discussion with your passive aggressive mother, family member? Do you need to stop the passive aggression that has been going on for generation after generation after generation? The full moon is illuminating, that cycle's over, and you're the one in your family that's going to end it. Or something to do with your house, home, or property. Are you moving? Is it something big like that? Is the full moon illuminating you've actually got to move now? You cannot live here anymore. Is it something to do with that? Does Aries fall into your 5th house? Now, this is the fun house. I do love the 5th house. Who doesn't? So it's all things fun, games, creativity, very artistic. It is also children. Is the full moon illuminating something about kids? Are you getting pregnant? Have you been trying to get pregnant forever and now you're pregnant? Something to do with your children. Do you need to have a discussion with your passive aggressive child? Or does your child have a discussion with you about being a passive aggressive parent? All of this stuff from those 3 lessons coming to a crescendo. This is like the Pluto and Capricorn lessons too, perhaps. So it's a fun house, but you might have to deal with some stuff regarding kids. Maybe pregnancy issues for you, stuff like that, maybe. But it is a very creative house. And so maybe you have finished a creative project and it is over. Full moon is illuminating now. You've got to step away from that project and perhaps move forward into another. Does Aries rule your 6th house? This is your house of health. What is the full moon illuminating for you regarding your health and your everyday practices towards making your health better? Perhaps the full moon is illuminating how you need to start going back to the gym. You need to stop eating all that sugar. The full moon's going to illuminate something for you when it comes to your health, your daily routines. It's boring. It's a boring house, the 6th house. It's what you do every single day. But when you master the 6th house, yes, it's boring. Yes, it's a daily grind kind of a feeling. You really could master if you just start daily, if you start a little daily practice of exercise, walking, this sort of thing. Maybe the full moon will illuminate how far you've come with your health. And, you might realize, holy, I can fit in those old jeans again. Maybe it's going to be something like that. 6th house is also to do with pets. So something, I hate to say it, but something might come to a crescendo regarding your pets. But it's all wrapped up into those 3 main lessons of this full moon, since it is in the North Node. Aries is in the North Node as well as this moon. So it's going to feel very eclipse'y. So something regarding your health, daily routines, or perhaps your pets. Does Aries rule your 7th house? This is your main closest relationships. So what's the full moon illuminating here for you? Hate to say, does the divorce need to happen? Does the separation need to happen? Do you need to talk to your business partner about the passive aggression? Do you need to say no more to your business partner? Maybe there's a new business partner coming in. What's the full moon illuminating when it comes to these close people, your best friend? It's also your open enemies. It's those closest people in your life. There's something being illuminated from the full moon in Aries in your 7th house. Does Aries rule your 8th house? This is the transformation house. Is the full moon illuminating how far you've come in your transformation? Have you completely transformed your life? Do you need to completely transform your life? Have you hit rock bottom and now you need to be like the phoenix and rise from the ashes? Do you need to become the caterpillar? Do you need to become the butterfly? You have been the caterpillar for way too long, and now you need to transform into the butterfly. It's all that kind of stuff. The 8th house is also a money house, but it's your inheritance. It's the money that you have saved with your husband. It's like group money. It's taxes. What's being illuminated there? Do you need to tidy up something regarding inheritance, taxes, stuff like that? Something to do with your money? Does something need to be dealt with? Or do you need to make a major transformation from the 8th house? Does Aries rule your 9th house? This is the spiritual house. These are your beliefs. This is your religion or your spirituality. This is also foreigners and foreign travel. Perhaps the full moon is illuminating that you need to have that difficult conversation with that person from another country. It's also your post-secondary education. Maybe you need to have that discussion with your professor at school. Maybe you need to take a new course. Maybe you need to take that trip. The full moon's going to illuminate something for you. It's been building. We've been feeling it in the North Node in Aries, moving through your 9th house. There's been a North Node lesson there for you, and the full moon is illuminating. This is the final full moon in Aries with the North Node in Aries. This is the final one. So it's a bit of a illumination. What's still in the dark that you can't see, or what has come so far and now that's over. The lesson is over. The cycle is over. Does Aries rule your 10th house? The 10th house is the very top of the chart. You can't hide what's going on in the 10th house. This is what everybody can see. This is your title. You went from Ms. to Mrs. Everyone knows you got married. This is you were the assistant, you became the CEO. It's a title change. It is your public reputation. People know you as this. This is how you are seen. This is the 10th house. This is up there. You can't hide it. Like if you're down in the 4th, you can hide all your feelings and all your ancestral wounding, and you can never deal with it your whole life if you don't want to. But 10th house, that's up there. It's also your father figure, your father. So what is the full moon illuminating? And we've been feeling this build because the North Node has been going through your 10th house for so long. This is the final full moon with the North Node in Aries. So with Aries North Node and Aries full moon at the same time. So it's like an eclipse. It's not an eclipse because it's such a far orb. The North Node's at 5 Aries and the full moon's at 24. So it's almost a 20-degree orb. That's why it isn't an eclipse, but it is eclipse'y. So what is being illuminated for you? Do you need to be the hero at your career? Do you need to say the damn thing and do the damn thing regarding your job or to your father or to your boss? Do you need to address the passive aggression that's been going on regarding father issues or career or colleagues, that kind of thing? That's what you need to ask yourself with those 3 main lessons that this full moon is illuminating. There is an ending. It's the end of a cycle. So ask yourself how you can show up as the hero regarding all those things. Does Aries rule your 11th house? This is your friendships, your groups, online groups, anything you're involved in online. This is everything online. So if you have an online business, this is your group of friends. So what is the full moon illuminating? You've been feeling it build because the North Node has been going through your 11th house, finishing up its job on January 11th, 2025. So this full moon is illuminating something for you there. Do you need to have the conversation with those passive aggressive friends? Do you need to leave the friendship group altogether? Do you need to leave the online group? 11th house is all things online business. And it's also it's the future. The 11th house rules the future and your greatest hopes and dreams. So maybe the full moon is illuminating something that you need to do to get there, to be your own hero so that you can get to that dream life that you have always wanted. So ask yourself those questions regarding those 3 main lessons regarding this full moon, because this is a very eclipsey full moon going through your 11th house. And finally, does Aries rule your 12th house? This is the final house. This is the final lesson. And full moons are all about the finality and an ending. And it's the end of a cycle. And that is 12th house. That is it's the final sign. And so if Aries rules your 12th house, there might be a big lesson, something that you really need to let go, let goddess. You really need to surrender. It's like, I don't want to let go of this thing, this relationship, this job, this person, whatever. But you have got to let it go and let goddess. You've got to forgive and stop telling the victim story when it comes to 12th house stuff. If you live in victim stories and this is what I said, and then she said this, and then I said this, and let me tell you exactly, if you're in that, you're not letting go and letting goddess, and you're not forgiving, and you've got to just let it go. If it's in the 12th house, you have got to just let it go. 12th house is all those underground things too. It's like the police, and it's like rehab centers, and it's hospitals, and you might need to get real about an addiction and get some rehab. Like it's all that kind of stuff. And the full moon's going to illuminate. It's been growing. It's been growing because the North Node has been in Aries for over a year, and it's going to end its lesson in January of 2025. But this is the final full moon in Aries. It's very eclipsey. So something is being illuminated for you to finally let go, or perhaps the full moon is illuminating how far you've come. You have manifested this thing. It has been let go, and now you can finally let it. You are given permission by the moon to let it go once and for all. And you don't have to talk about it another day in your life if you do not want to. So that's the forecast of this full moon, October 17th, 24 degrees of Aries. Those are the top 3 lessons, but I do encourage you to go back to the former podcast as well, because I talk about how these moons in October of 2024 have really been encouraging all of us to get into that high vibe and feminine energy. Something's being prepared for us. We are all being encouraged to get into that center, feel those feelings, do the shadow work. You've got to feel it to get through it, even those really hard feelings. And we're talking very difficult things. I shared my trauma story about how I witnessed child abuse, and I'm still working through the trauma. I've got to feel those feelings. I've got to walk through that to let it go. We're all being encouraged in our own way by the cosmos through these October moons to feel it all. Once you can feel it, if you can sit with it, if you can surrender to it, if you can slow down, and if you can feel your way through it, well, that's when you're going to get out of those gut reaction, knee-jerk reaction, gut feel. It's my gut. It's my gut. No, that's your fear speaking. That I'm overthinking. No, you've got to drop into your heart, right? We've got to get out of our gut feelings that are keeping us fear-based. We've got to get out of our minds that are keeping us in loops of rumination and overthinking and anxiety. And we've got to all drop into our hearts. And there's been so much feminine activation with these October moons. Go back and watch that podcast that I walk you through that. And these 3 main lessons from this full moon in Aries with the North Node in Aries, we're all being encouraged to drop into our hearts, become our own hero. This is divine feminine with divine masculine at its finest. We're all being encouraged to get there. And I'm not sure why, but something's happening and the cosmos are preparing us. Have you been listening? Have you been feeling all these feels? Have you been slowing down, going through the emotions, even those really hard ones, stopping the victim stories? That's something I get into in this book. You've got to take radical responsibility for ourselves. And that's when we can feel it all of it, and blame nobody. And let it go, transmute the energy. That's how we can become alchemists, and that's how we can start new cycles. And I just feel there's something so strong about this Pluto and Capricorn, these final lessons of Pluto and Capricorn. And then once it goes into Aquarius, I think it's a whole new world we're looking at. And I feel like these October moons are really preparing us for that shift. So share with us in the comments, where does Aries fall in your natal birth chart? How are you feeling all these feels? Are you feeling all these feels? And share with us how you're experiencing these cosmos lately. They have been so much, and there's never a better time to do the coaching with the cosmos than now. I feel like it has been something. The astrology of 2024, all of us astrologers that have been looking at it since the beginning, we all knew something was coming to a crunch at the end of the year, and we're in it right now. So I hope these coaching with the cosmos forecasts are helping you and serving you. Please do share your comments, and wishing you all the best at the time of this full moon in Aries on October 17th.